I signed my soul on the dotted line. I'd like to tell you that my kids in the room, 10 years old, 8 years old, and 6 years old, live from my bedroom, did not know a Mark Breslin before today. And as a Canadian, I walked around and I wanted to make sure you are somebody that is a name in this town. And your name is so synonymous with Yuck Yucks that Yuck Yucks is now your name.
I know. Well, there's a Smokey Robinson lyric that says the hunter gets captured by the game. And you have to be very careful that you don't become the thing that you create. Because there is always a distance between you and what your creation is. You can't let it swallow you up. And I fight hard to not let that happen.
Okay, I don't know how you pulled it off if you did. At this point, you can't go anywhere and say the word Yuck Yucks and not have anyone know the name of Yuck Yucks.
Well, next year I'll be celebrating my 40th anniversary.
No, when? Who, how?
Next year.
No.
It'll be 40 years since Yuck Yucks started. I started in 1976.
Right. Wow. So what are we doing? What are we doing for that?
A couple of things. I mean, there's a documentary that I think CBC is going to be doing on the history of the company, which is great.
All right. I'll link to that. Sure, on the podcast. I'll link to that. Go on.
Great. And I wrote a screenplay with a friend of mine about the early years of Yuck Yucks. And I mean the really early years, the really scrappy years, 1974 to 1978.
Right.
And it's pretty funny. And think of it as the Social Network where they're playing for really low stakes.
Who's playing you?
Don't know yet.
Oh, come on. Okay, well, then I can't help myself as someone who's pretending.
No, I'm not being coy here, Adam.
No. I'm saying if you had to choose anybody you wanted as a casting director and someone who has an eye for talent, who would you choose that could play the 1974 Mark Breslin?
Well, here's the thing. I think that guy is out there and he's on a sitcom in the States, not as a lead, but as like a third or fourth lead. All about, well, you couldn't get the lead because it's a Canadian film. You wouldn't be able to afford somebody. You couldn't afford Johnny Galecki.
No, I'm okay. I want to stop talking to the producer right now. I was actually I was hoping I was going to reach into the creative you because that's the part of you.
They don't watch enough TV to know who the right guy is.
No, I was actually pulling from your own stages is what I was trying to pull at. Because in 1974, if I could actually pull out, I got a Lance sitting in the front row. I got a guy who's definitely putting on some fisticuffs and going out and you are sparring with words with the audience. You're coming from a place. And like if a Dave Attell came from Long Island. And you're going to tell me you're from Rosedale or something crazy.
Forest Hill.
Which was basically what I'm saying. Like,
well, I've been slumming ever since.
Yeah, no, but the problem, what I'm trying to say, and that's why it's so funny, is that you had so much angst about the world not owing you something, but coming from a place that clearly could have been and if, for those who don't understand this reference, Jane and Finch mentality or...
All right, do you want to know why, Adam?
Yes, that's actually why I'm calling you today.
Want to know why?
I really do.
Because although I never grew up at Jane and Finch, I was a small person I was a short person in a tall person's world.
Right.
My sister, my older sister, was very sick with multiple sclerosis, and this ran through like a horrible, horrible thing in the family and destroyed my family and my family's happiness, including my own.
Right.
And although I went to Forest Hill, it wasn't because I was a rich kid. I was middle class, but we lived with my sister who married a rich guy, and we were trying to take care of her. So I won't say I was a poor kid in a rich kid's school, but I was not a rich kid in a rich kid's school. So I had all these gaps that were happening in my life. Oh, and my parents were significantly older than me. My father was 54 when I was born, and my mother was 44.
Wow.
And as a result, it wasn't like having a normal parent-child relationship.
Wow.
And all of these things made me very alienated and angry.
And for comedy, it just makes it funny. The more tragic something can be, the funny as it can be. So, yeah, good for you.
I wouldn't call my life tragic.
Well, but MS? No, dude, I'm actually kind of... I should be on meds. I actually kind of not tearing up, but I'm really not feeling happy right now. Like I started with I wanted to know, but I didn't think it was going to go that way. I don't know what I expect. You know what? I'm not a journalist. I'm a guy who's having a chat, and I really would think people are going to glean something from this chat. My kids walked out of here laughing and having the best time that they've ever had.
The honesty of the chat is that when I was 15, 16, 17, all the way till about 22, and I finally got into show business. I was miserable and suicidal all the time.
Wow. And hold on, you're saying the outleash of the stage being a little bit of therapeutic, cathartic, it helped relieve like a coping skill?
Adam, I've been under the care of psychiatrists, psychoanalysts, psychologists, every possible kind of therapy you can imagine, and nothing ever was as good as the stage.
Oh man, let's promote that. Let's make that the clip. That's the clip. But no, hold on. Why am I starting to tingle? Oh, I know why. Because the people that are using it don't know they're using it. Like I got to reach out to like a Geraldo or a Robin Williams or not Geraldo. People that basically tell me that if I was to ever start a comedy club now, I would actually have a psychiatrist unit to make sure the people who came in and off my stage were in a peaceful place.
Well, they won't be in a peaceful place if they're any good as a comic.
No, but first you write it down, and then after you write it down and you have an act, you are a performer, but you don't need to have the angst. You don't need to have the heart shit anymore. The writing did certainly help. But you can be an actor, just like a Robin Williams. You don't actually have to be that. I don't
Maybe
hope
not a good example of a guy who killed himself.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. My point being is that's the side of you would think the stage could be cathartic enough, but it isn't. I mean, it's just.
Well, I guess it's cathartic as long as it's cathartic, and then it's not cathartic anymore.
Right.
Said Rich Jenny, my good friend Rich Jenny.
Right.
A gun in his mouth in the shower.
Yeah.
You know that suicide is the leading cause of death amongst comedians under 50.
Yes, under 50. Doctors and dentists and gay people are also on such list. It is, and nurses. It's a
gay dentist comedian would be, really at risk.
Yeah.
And Ed Pollack was just that guy and killed himself.
He did.
He did. Upbeat, huh?
Yeah. Well,
kids, are you having a good time?
That's right. Well, this is what they're supposed to learn from it, actually. This is part of it. If you don't know the show, and of course you're a busy man, you probably don't. I actually, if you do recognize or identify yourself as a stand-up comedian in any fashion, I actually slow down the show to say, are you okay? How are you feeling? Are you in a good place? Is there something I can help you with?
Well, it is a good question to ask.
It is if you actually only identify yourself as a stand-up comedian. But if you're a producer, songwriter, scriptwriter, icon, I think I've seen you be a host. You're still a host. You're a professional host.
Yeah, I just did. I hosted for 700 people for some neurological disease that I'd never even heard of.
Right.
I did that for an evening. I hosted a Greenpeace rally for 1,200 people. I do charity work more than anything else now. But I love to host.
Well, but you are a host. I mean, there's no stopping the hosting at all, right? You can take the man out of the host without the host. I mean, you are. That's even when I saw you do stand-up, it was your show. Like, you didn't headline your own spot. I actually never saw you headline my whole life. I've never seen you headline. I've never seen a headline spot. I've seen you only be the host.
You know why?
No, I don't.
Because I grew up on all those television shows where the stars were the hosts. It's the, Donnie and Marie show. It's the Sonny and Cher show. So I modeled my career on those guys.
Right. But
really hard modeling your career on Cher when, you're only 5'3".
So hold on. Did you actually end up doing that then? Like, see, what you've created, and I know you know it, but as an outsider looking in, let me tell you, because I ran an independent circuit for a very long time. But what we weren't was a Yuck Yuck show. Yuck Yucks creates a specific type of show. It is a brand. There's something very specific that you're watching a Yuck Yuck show. I don't care if you're in Peterborough or if you're in Vancouver. The comedians are all comedians, but the second that they know they're on a Yuck Yuck stage, they have some kind of camaraderie where they help each other's acts. They'll tag each other's acts. There's a feeling of if I'm in Ontario, everyone's bringing up Cornwall. There's a feeling of there's going to be a show that they themselves are going to congeal, that they're going to make it, they're going to solidify a show. They're going to make 4 guys or maybe 5 guys, and on the road usually it's 2 or 3 guys, a show. And what you just said was the host gets up on stage because it's Donnie and Marie, brings up an act, then another guy, and then another guy that carry time, and then the host, which is the brand of Yuck Yucks.
We made the host position a really important one. And when we used to go down to the States and watch shows down there in comedy clubs, they would give the MC job to the worst comedian. I tried to give the MC job to the best comedian on just just on the basis that, well, you'd see him more anyway, so he better be really good. So that was a difference between Yuck Yucks and most clubs in Canada and in the United States.
Yeah, that's you. I would say that that is what I recognized from that. And it's because of that demeanor that it made it very difficult for the up-and-comer to break through, which in your world is great, because if you can hold somebody, not hold them down, but make them good enough that when you make them your brand, they're then your brand. But we're a bunch of firecrackers ready to explode, and you're in the position of, holding us down, even though you're not. You're actually just preparing us for what's to come. It's a very weird place. I put myself in your position on the independent circle, and I have no friends from that. I mean, 20 years later, people will still talk to me, but they're not my buddies.
And most of the people at Yucks were never my buddies either. They were work buddies. A work buddy is different than a buddy. You're
right. But you do come across as the guy where, I mean, if I scare you into commission. I mean, I know more people that were scared of you that were your buddies. That's for sure. Was that good? Is that business? Did you do that on purpose?
No. That's the effluent. That's the pollution that comes with the business.
That's pollution. Okay. No, I'm happy to hear that it wasn't something you thought was nice to people who are afraid of you.
No, absolutely not.
Well, I don't know. I actually don't know, because I'm not a good businessman. I'm in charity. I've done charity my whole life. That's my whole life. I don't know how to actually make a dollar, really. I'm a big fan of just doing it. That's why the arts is a tailspin for me, because asking for the money, because I'm happy to do it. I'm actually really happy to do it, to the point where I don't really need payment, but I need payment because how am I going to feed myself?
Right.
So that's the back and forth. So if I have to flash back with you, if I can, I've been a part of your 1976 launch for a long time. My mother is an independent businesswoman who did typing. She could type over 240 words a minute before they went to automatic IBMs. Mm-hmm. So people would actually stop in the office and watch her type. So somebody from Yuck Yucks back in the day, while you were not in town, asked her to be a business secretary for you, and she would just be typing up all of your financials. That was her job. That's what she did. That was her gig.
Okay, I'm not aware of this.
No, I know. I'm telling you a story. Uh-huh. So from that, back and forth, if you don't know, I'm not actually a funny person. What I am is... I love that we had this conversation. I hate sports, but I'll play some. You should actually play little tennis with John Wing Jr. I'm pretty sure you guys would have a great time doing that. I play any sport. I don't watch any sport, and I'm not a big fan of them at all. Because I smoked cigarettes since I was 7 years old, I didn't grow very well. I have my arm span I should have been 6'8" if you measured me properly. I ended up being 6'3", but when I graduated high school, and at 18 years old, that's basically half your life lived in the world of you growing, becoming a human being. I was under, 5'6". So I have this demeanor of being a guy who's under 5'6", but then I kept growing to 6'3", but the demeanor didn't change. So I got a Napoleon complex in a 6'3" body. Mm. So that's my problem when I usually first meet people. Part two is that my parents were foster parents, allowing 100 strangers in my house, making me overly relaxed with people I don't know, to the point where it's actually kind of scary. But my parents...
That's such a bad thing.
No, it isn't. And my parents empowered me. And with that empowerment, people thought what I was doing was comedy, but it wasn't. It was me being really defensive. That's all I was ever doing. And so the gentleman who kept coming over to the house said, you know what you need to do? You should be a comedian. And at the time, I was already in community theater. I was already being a thespian and an actor. I played several instruments, and I sung. And I was like, I'm not a comedian, and I'm not really too sure what that is. So he gave me some tickets. I'm 15 years old, and we went down, and I had the craziest time of my life. I wasn't going there to drink. I was going there to hear stuff, and it was the early show, not the late show.
Right.
And I don't think I was sneaking in, at least if I didn't.
No, we didn't have a liquor license in the early days, and you probably were. There was no problem having you come in.
I don't think there was. I don't think I was sneaking. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you weren't. You weren't.
I don't think I was.
Liquor license till the early '80s.
Yeah, so no, I was already there already, and so I was having a great time, sneaking in maybe, because maybe I wasn't, I don't know, I'm not playing the math game, but I had a great time. Anytime I could, I brought people there. It was my favorite time. I saw Mike McDonald, Norm McDonald, the Howie Mandel, everyone has been on your stage. If you're in comedy, they've been on your stage.
Yep.
And I loved coming to your club. It was one of the reasons that I thought that, see, I always knew I wasn't a stand-up comedian because I wasn't a stand-up comedian, but people like John Wing Jr. and Steve Schuster, they let you know that you can step outside of the regular of what you expect stand-up to be.
Yeah.
So I was always a fan of music and variety, which is what I hope I brought to the world. And at this point, I think it's still kind of missing because you changed your name of your club in my lifetime that I've noticed, 8 times. The name of the club it used to be at one time, my favorite was Comedy Emporium was my favorite title ever.
I never called it a Comedy Emporium ever.
What? It was on the sign at Eglinton. It said Comedy Emporium on the sign.
No, it did not. You got it wrong. Sorry. I know it would be on my own signs. It was never Comedy Emporium.
No, I'm thinking you're hosting the Joan Rivers show or something because I saw that sign behind people's heads.
It was never Comedy Emporium.
Okay, what was the list? If I'm so wrong.
Where you get this different, it was always Yuck Yucks. Then it was Mark Breslin's Yuck Yucks, and the logo now has an extra sort of ring around it that says International Stand-Up Comedy, but it was never anything than that. Oh, I'm sorry. It was also Yuck Yucks Comedy Cabaret in the very beginning, spelt with K's.
Right. No, Cabaret was the first pass, and then after that it became Improv and Stand-Up Club.
No, it was never.
Oh, my Lord.
You get this stuff.
As I'm trying to tell you, I frequent your You're not in town. You weren't here.
I'm always in control of what the club is called.
Oh my Lord!
We never called it improv because I hate improv. Ask me why I don't like improv.
This is the fun.
Ask me why I don't like improv.
You know what? I like the setup. You know, I heard that you don't like improv.
No, yeah, the setup is why don't you like?
You know, that's why I'm not in this business anymore. So why don't you like improv?
Because our time on Earth is short.
Oh, wow. Okay, so now I don't even understand you. Okay, I want to let you know as a guy who clearly, I don't know, once every 2 months was in one of your clubs, one of your many clubs, as you are one of the you were at one point the largest club owner in North America. I don't know.
I think we're second.
Fair enough.
Improv might be bigger, but the improv chain in the States. But
fair enough. But in my lifetime, you held that high, and I remember it well. And while I was there, my first paid gig for Yuck Yucks, if I had to call myself a professional, no longer amateur status for the Olympics, was a Tuesday night improv night. Under the sign that I now have to find the picture and send it to you.
No, you want to hear the story?
No. Yes, I do, actually.
Okay. Yes, it was called the Improv on a Tuesday night, and the reason we did that was to block the Improv from moving into Canada by appropriating their name.
Oh, genius.
Yeah.
I think you put it on the sign, though, so they couldn't appropriate the name.
We put it on the sign, but only for that day.
I was there that day, and I got paid that day.
Said Emporium. You know what an Emporium? That's like Mr. Green Jeans in the 80s.
And they're gone. They just left 2 months ago.
I used to like going to Mr.
I loved Mr. Green Jeans, and the back area with that walkway was so beautiful.
I liked it when it was the plant store and a restaurant.
Hold on, Mr. Green. No, it wasn't called Mr. Green Jeans, the plant store, and then they decided to make burgers. That didn't happen.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, come on, that did not happen.
On Adelaide Street, their first location.
What? Mr. Green Jeans was a plant shop that turned into a burger?
It was a plant shop, and the guy started to sell burgers on the side, and then the restaurant became bigger than the plant store.
Wow. And you're not involved in that business. You just know that as a backstory of Toronto.
No, because I used to be a customer.
Yeah, for sure. As I'm a customer of yours, telling you had an emporium. So
I never had an emporium.
You had an improv. You had an emporium. You had a Yuck Yucks and stand-up club.
Anybody who called it an emporium because it's such a wrong word, an incorrect word.
Okay, the one that I didn't like was the one that it was Yuck Yucks. It was Yuck Yucks comedy. No, best stand-up comedy. Meaning you couldn't have any variety there anymore. The variety stepped to the side. There was no more variety.
There was never a lot of variety to begin with.
There was variety. I wanted to be part of your variety, and I saw other people on your stage, magicians that did show up that were hilarious.
Tony Holdsworth, Michael Ross,
yep,
David Merry.
Yep, David Merry. Holy crap, David Merry.
Just saw David Merry yesterday.
Well, why wouldn't you? He's a fantastic performer. He's a talent to be sought with. He also has his own stuff going on to being a host and such. I would love to speak with him. He's in the same facet. But yeah, no, David Mary was on your stage for sure.
Yeah, we never saw it as a variety thing.
Well, I don't understand that.
We let him on anyway.
Wow, what a thing to say. That's fantastic.
Why? Magicians have no interest for me.
No, that's not true. That's not true. You love
magic. They
magic.
don't. I see a magician, I run. What? I see a juggler, I run even faster.
Wow.
I see a mime, I'm out of there.
Okay, so you're talking about sitting down and having a breakfast and then someone's trying to perform for you, not...
No, I'm talking about on a stage.
Wow, that's what I mean, on a stage. I mean, not in general, guys coming at you with juggling.
You know how, just for laughs, in most of their galas, they try to sell the show out overseas, so they need to have some some visual act.
Right, no language, visuals only.
Yeah, so when that happens, that's my cue to go to the bathroom.
That's the reason we're not on the same page. I'm actually a little anti stand-up comic, because I want all comics to know that they're entertainers first, so they can come from a place of really understanding that they're producing their own show, allowing them to wear producer hat, and then after they're producer, record it, and then direct yourself, and then your director hat, and then I'm hoping you'll find some solace in that you're a talent versus I don't deserve whatever's happening to me.
No, I wouldn't disagree with any of that. Just don't pull out a balloon in the middle of it.
Oh, you still got it. So that's I don't think it's been a while since you've made me laugh, because mostly you just make me scared. So in general, because you helped me out early off in my career. I wasn't a Yuck Yucks, as I've already said many times, performer. You did allow me on your stage, and then from watching me perform, you said it can. Because I was hoping that we would have some form of relationship, you reached out and I asked if it was possible for me to go out to Vancouver, to go out west for the clubs that bear your name. They're franchisees, so Calgary and such, and this is back in the late 90s. They bared your name, but when you got there, it really wasn't the Yuck Yucks. Like at that time, in that year, you sent me to a place where I have to be honest, I have never been so scared.
Where?
I was in Vancouver. The two clubs in Vancouver at the time, one in the gas district and the other one was in this not theater district, but right by that park with the Global whatever. It was running by...
I know what you mean. It was the old 86 Street. It was part of the... It was
Club.
Originally built for the Expo 86.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then we took it over afterwards. It was run by two really shady guys.
Gang members. But were bike gang members.
I wouldn't go that far, but they were selling some coke underneath under the...
coke kids, by the way, is a drug.
We got rid of them finally. Yeah, I'm sorry you had to deal with them.
Yeah, no, it scared me.
Some guys found them fun, though. I got to tell you. That some guys would come back from Vancouver and said... they may be dodgy guys, but boy, we never partied like we partied.
Right.
So it just depends what kind of person you are. If you like that kind of thing,
right.
If you don't, and I'm not that kind of guy.
I'm not calling you out on that, Mark. I'm just saying I was so scared. You did me such a solid favor. I didn't even know how to come back and even tell you until now. It's like almost 20 years later.
Oh, do you think I didn't know?
Well, I didn't know what you knew or not. It had your name on the door, and it said Emporium. No, I'm kidding.
No, it was very hard to get rid of those guys.
Yeah, I would say they would. Yeah. So, anyways, I was told
finally, and we have a really nice new club in Vancouver now, and
yes,
it's run by the sweetest guy you'll ever meet.
Right. I was actually told you took over, because that's the wrong word, but I like the sound of it. Casinos. That's part of your process as well. On the road, Yuck Yucks, and there's a location out that way, also in Casino.
Calgary is in a casino. Edmonton is in a casino.
Yeah.
Niagara Falls is in a casino.
Exciting.
And Ontario is in a casino.
That's where you should be, and that's a great marriage. Fantastic. Did they attach it to you, or did you go after them?
We went after Niagara Falls first. We knew we could only make it work in Niagara Falls in that location, and we just did everything we could to get them to finally say yes, which they finally did, and it was a big success. So once we had that success under our belts, then we could go to we needed a new room in Calgary.
Right.
We went to the casino and we could show results. We could easily say, just call the guys in Niagara Falls, and that's how it worked.
That was great.
If you get into one and it's a success, then it's much easier to get into the second and the third.
Great. So great. No, so I'm very happy that you have life out there in the West that is no longer going to take your life. Fantastic for all of us.
By the way, you were never in danger.
You don't know. You really don't know. I really did feel like I was in danger.
Nobody ever got hurt in that club, ever.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't go to Dubai. I've been invited to Dubai. I know I'll go to jail and things will be bad. I don't know when to shut up, Mark. You've met me. Come on. So anyways, bad things were going to happen.
I wouldn't set up a club in Dubai either, frankly, because of that.
Well, that's what.
I did go to Israel to see if I could open up there.
Yeah, we should do that for sure. But I know the guy that runs all the clubs in Israel. I'm his buddy. But
Kalimnik?
Repete?
Kalimnik?
No.
David Kalimnik.
No, he was Russian, but he's a Jewish Russian. So, yeah, it was the Camel Comedy Clubs that went through. If I had to push anybody, he had 5 locations throughout, and he had one-nighters all the way through. There was one theater that also did. But when I was out there in '99, I put a tour. I had a 12-night tour from all the way from Haifa all the way down to Eilat. And it was a bavakasha, Anglit bavakasha, which in English is English please, which is what I was going with. And so all the people who had their radio shows, their television shows, and movie stars in Israel, I told them I could take their act and make it basically English or English friendly, so people in New York would understand the references that they were making to make it make sense. And so that was part of the deal. And there was one guy on the show, it was a 2-hour show, and there was one guy on the show that basically his whole act was not to speak English and basically say, if you speak English, you're a dog. And then I would come up after and go, I don't know what he was saying, but he's not coming up ever again. And there was just a joke because he was part of the act. But he was just trying to say, if you want to be Israeli, you don't have to speak English.
We shot a film there. You know, what I did was the Israeli government kind of invited us. Not exactly invited us, sort of. I had this idea of actually, okay, here's where it starts. Do you remember about 10 years ago, maybe not quite that long ago, there was at TIFF, TIFF had twinned Toronto with Tel Aviv to do with Sister City.
Yes, I've been a part of a TIFF for the last 10 years through Out There with Melissa DeMarco, which is going to be available to you in June.
Okay, right, so if you remember, a lot of leftist radicals decided they didn't like that, and they protested, and it wasn't right to show Israeli films, and they wanted to boycott them. Anyway, I remember that period, and I didn't like it at all, and I thought, well, what if I brought in a bunch of Israeli comics to perform at Yakets? Would they pick at me as well? So I went to the Israeli consulate, and I said, look, I'd like to do this thing where I'll bring over Israeli comics, and we'll make a kind of statement. And they said, well, we have to tell you, Mr. Breslin, we know a lot about the comedy scene. There aren't very many good stand-ups in Israel.
That's not true. True.
Wait. Who can perform in English?
Oh, that's not true either. Because I was there before you.
No, it is true. I went there and I saw the level was just not at the level that we demanded.
No. You had to pick the 15 guys that all had TV shows, radio shows, and movie careers. And I can give you the list. But actually, I called you before you went. Didn't I not? I invited you to TIFF. This is starting to ring a bell. Because I keep inviting you out to TIFF, do I not?
Yes, you do.
Right.
I go to TIFF anyway.
No, I know, but I'm inviting you to my room for a little nush and a little sampler platter, and I could take a picture that, holy crap, Mark Breslin sewed up in my suite.
We'll do it this year for sure.
Oh, well, I'm actually going to hold you to that, and if you don't...
Yeah, we'll do it this year for sure, but let me finish the anecdote.
Yes, please.
So the consulate said, but why don't you bring some Canadian comedians to Israel? And I said, I never thought of that. He said, we can probably put some money in and blah, blah, blah. Nice. Anyway, in the end, it took me 2.5, 3 years to put this deal together because I had to find a filmmaker to make the deal work so there'd be some real reason for them to put the money in.
Right.
And then I said, okay, I've got 6 great Jewish comics. And they went, no Jewish comics.
Nah.
And I went, what do you mean no Jewish comics? I said, we already have their support. Give me other kinds of comics. So I finally negotiated. I said, well, look. I said, you got to have some Jewish comics on or you'll look anti-Semitic. Yeah, and they said, yeah, I guess you're right. Okay, That's you can funny. Have one Jewish comic. And I said, well, wait a minute. If I have one Jewish comic, who's he going to talk to? Jews only like to talk to other Jews. I got to have a second Jewish comic. I felt like Schindler.
No, you sound like Moses negotiating. If I find one soul, that's a good soul in Lot.
Exactly what it was like. Anyway, 6 of us went over, plus me, and they had a whole performance schedule for us, except for on Friday, which is, of course, Friday night, being Shabbat. They didn't want to schedule anything. And our filmmaker said, would you mind if we performed in East Jerusalem for the Palestinians?
Holy crap.
And they said, because Israel is such a great country, truly, they said, no, You can go do it. Even though they're our enemies,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Wow.
We just don't want to get involved in it. And I
Right.
said, okay. So we go out there. The bus, we had our own private bus. The bus lets us off at the Colony Hotel, beautiful hotel in East Jerusalem. They had a lovely setup for us, which mimicked a nightclub. The manager must have gone online. He built a kind of brick wall to make it look like a comedy club and did our logo. It looked fantastic.
Beautiful.
We looked at the crowd, and your image of Palestinians are people in rags throwing rocks, but these people were wearing Armani suits and beautiful dresses.
Right.
So we thought, this is going to be great.
Oh no.
We get out there. I tell Sam Easton, who's the loveliest guy in the world, that he's going to be hosting the show that night. He gets up and the show's over in 6 seconds. Why 6 seconds, Adam? What could have happened in 6 seconds?
Boom.
Well, all he did was he went on and said, hey, this is so wonderful. Thank you for your support. This has been a fabulous experience ever since we got here to Israel. And all the energy sucked out of the room.
Because it's Palestine. You weren't in Israel.
That's right. But nobody told us that. Nobody's told us not to say that. And the show was over. The show was basically over. They threw stuff. They got up. They got out. Nobody punched us. But when people come like an inch from your face and they're talking to you, and it could go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then for the rest of the tour, this became an international incident. And people kept calling me on my cell phone from the Jerusalem Post wanting quotes.
That's fantastic. So
anyway, the film is called A Universal Language. You can probably get it on Netflix.
Universal Language. All right, you can get that on Netflix. That's what we're going to be shooting for. We're getting some kind of feedback now for no reason. The whole time we never got it until just right there at the end. I'm actually going to edit that out. Could you just one more time just tell me I can get it on Netflix?
Yeah. You can probably get A Universal Language on Netflix. It's a pretty good documentary, kind of funny, and it has a lot of performances in it by some really good comics.
All right, you can get that out there on Netflix. Now, here's what I'm just going to wrap up with this, if you don't mind.
No.
What I really, really enjoyed, and I'm being sarcastic, is the concept that if Yuck Yucks 20 years ago would invest some time or money or effort into a comedian, they were told, please don't play other stages. Stay with us. I don't want, if you're going to become my product, my asset, something that's going to be a part of my business, I like you to grow if you want to, open up for a band somewhere that doesn't have a logo behind it or something like that, but don't go work for other comedy clubs.
Correct.
All right. Now, that seems basically on the straight and narrow, but then they say, well, I don't have enough money. I can't make enough money at all if I just stay with your club.
Yes, but it only covered Canada, that agreement. That doesn't mean they can't go to the States and work. That doesn't mean they can't go to the UK and work.
Right.
That doesn't mean they can't go get, as they should, writing jobs.
Right.
Performing like acting jobs.
Well, let's take a step sideways. I actually always thought that that conversation always affiliated with funny business, or is funny business so new that it wasn't back then?
No, funny business existed, but it never covered any of those things that I'm talking about now, and everybody knew that.
Okay, now let's just take 3 steps forward. So now that I'm talking to people that are under your roster, on your roster, and proud to be and don't take this the wrong way because I'm having fun with it, a yucky comedian.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, enjoy that. So anyways, I'm having fun with it. But with Mark Breslin on the phone, if I can't do it to you, I shouldn't be able to do it in life. You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Tadar rabah. Thank you very much. So people have been saying that it's no longer the rope around their neck that it once was, that you are lax, and if they want to play the other clubs, they're more than welcome to.
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, the contract is a Swiss cheese. There's all kinds of exceptions to cover places that we can't cover. But if we can cover it, we expect you to come to us first. That's all. That's all it ever was.
Okay, no, from the horse's mouth is where I love to get this information. So those guys who came to me and told me things are on the lax, they're really not. He really wants you to be part of his team. If you're on his roster, he's asking you to invest in him as he's investing in you. So now we're going to...
There's all kinds of examples. If I can make this example.
Please
do. If we're network television and you're an actor, you've got a show on network television, you can't do a show on ABC and a show on CBS. But you could do a show on ABC or CBS and do a show on cable because it's not competitive.
Right.
You see the difference?
I do. That's actually what I said. That's why you don't mind if they open for a band.
So similarly, we don't have a problem with people doing comedy bar. We don't have a problem with people doing spirits on Wednesday nights.
Spirits on Wednesday nights in comedy bar from Mark Breslin's mouth, kids. This is fantastic.
But if it's a direct competitor,
right.
Yeah, it's a problem.
You're right. You're not wrong. So now this is the wrap up, and thank you very much for that. Is there something that's coming up that you want to promote? Is there a website that I should be clicking to? What help me? Let me help Mark Breslin. Help Mark Breslin.
Look, yuckyucks.com. We've really put a great blog together, and you should check it out because it's very creative and it's lots of fun.
Thank you very much for your time. I want to say see you later off camera. The kids say see you later. Thank you very much for your time, sir. I'm sorry we had a technological problem, which is hilarious since you apologize for the technology. That's my favorite part of this
call. Oh, I apologize for not knowing more about the technology.
Which is even better. Thank you very much for your time. I want to say goodbye off air. All right. Every highway starts to look the same. Mile markers are my minutes in my day. Through my mirrors I can see my home behind me. I signed my soul on the dotted line. Yes, I signed my soul on the dotted line. Yes, I signed my soul on the dotted line.